Here's a quick tutorial from Math for Middles on some shamrock string art for March. These are the materials that you're going to be using. Okay, so I'm using a protractor as my ruler in this situation, or straight edge. I am making a 6-inch or 6 by 6 inch square and using graph paper to help me make sure that my lines are straight and that of that nature. So I'm just going to finish that up. Great, now that my square is complete, I'm going to work on finding the center of my square. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'm just deciding to count the units inside of the square. So this could be a math lesson in itself, depending on the age of the learner completing this activity. So I'm counting the length of each side, and I'm counting using that length to find the center of each side length and ultimately find the center of the square. This could also be done just using the ruler as well. I just really like working with graph paper. Okay, once I find the center of the square, I also use that to find the center of each of the four sides of the square. So again, I count out my units of this square to find the center of each side point. Excuse me, of each side length. Now with the center of each side length identified, I work to find the quarter of each side length. So take each side length that you have, you cut it in half, cut it in half again. I am cutting this into fourths. All right, and this is important because it makes sure that the shamrock that we're creating is equal and symmetrical. All right, so I have my quarter lengths, and now I'm going to use my compass and start to make my circles. I'm going to make about 8 circles altogether, 2 on each side of my square. So you don't need to make the circles full all the way around, but you do need to make sure that you're at least getting those half circles in. That's what's the most important. So you need your half circles to go through the center of each side length and cross through the vertice of each side length as well. A vertice is just a famous math word for corner. So it needs to go through the center that we previously identified, and it needs to go through the corner or the vertice of each side as well. And you're going to want to make sure that the center of your square is that quarter point that we previously identified. If you use a really good compass, you won't have any issues, but my compass is a little cheap and it's acting like it's cheap. So be mindful that the quality of your compass will make this either easier for you, or possibly more difficult. But either way, take your time, make sure you're using a pencil that you can erase with, and you should be fine. And if you were already thinking, hey, I'm not sure if she's going to have enough space there, I don't have enough space, but that's not too big of a deal. We can compensate for that. It's part of the reason why I really like to work with graph paper. You'll see why, because all I'm going to do is get another sheet of paper and line that other piece of paper up and make sure that I can continue my circle onto the second sheet of paper. So I do my circles or my half circles as best as I can, and then just pull out another sheet of graph paper. I'm going to line it up and tape it so it doesn't shift too much. And once I have that taped down, I'm just going to complete my semicircles for what was missing. Okay, so now I am going through and I am finding a quarter of the way through the center of the circle as well. So let me clarify that because I said quarter and center at the same time. So a quarter of a way through the middle parts or the middle quadrants of the circle, of the square. So using the square, I have the big outer one and we cut that into fourths. So you can see the four smaller squares as I've identified them. Now those lines are to help us ensure that our shamrock is symmetrical. So essentially what we just did there is divided our square into fourths. Now you can see the shamrock really starting to form. And I'm just going to emphasize those points. Those points, I really want them emphasized because I'm going to make sure that no matter what, my lines on my shamrock do not go beyond that part, my leaf lines, if you will. Now, I particularly like it when it's indented a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase my square now because I no longer have any use for it. I'm going to go around and just get rid of those lines that I no longer need. And now, voila, my shamrock's actually done here. So I like my shamrock to be, the leaves to be a little bit more indented downwards. So what I'm going to do is using my quarter squares that I've already identified the lines for, I'm actually going to go around now and kind of just eyeball taking in the indents just a little bit more. So I just estimate a side that's about even. The graph paper certainly helps with this portion, so definitely trying to line it up as best as I can here. And then you're going to see me kind of just shave down the sides and erase the center points a little bit. Okay, and it's all done. So I'm just going to grab a black colored pencil and go over everything just to thicken it up. At this point, I have my stencil that I'm going to use to make my string art that I created all on my own, and you could make your own too. Or if you'd like to use this very exact stencil that you see me create in this video, you can check out some links to download a free copy for yourself.